Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. This is about take 8 on this, and I'm kind of getting sick of doing it, and the forces that be just aren't letting me do it. I tried this about 4 times on TikTok. I knew I didn't have a hope in hell doing this on Facebook, and for the last 3 or 4 days, the first video I made on YouTube was terrible. Second video I made was not very good either. Um, So this is about take 8. Between all the videos I've made, I think I could do these candidates with my eyes blindfolded. After the chart is embedded into my head now. They say psychologically, in order to retain information, it takes 7 repeats of it to really let it sink in. So I'm here to do the election for the presidential candidates. And I believe I have this on unsubscribed at the moment before I make it public. And that's only because I don't want to get distracted. So I have the election day up, and we're going to have election day on a Tuesday, obviously, November 5th, 2024. And I'm wondering if the moon is waxing or waning. Let me just double check something before I say anything. It is in the waning moon phase. So waxing moon phase. So that's good. And the moon is going to be in Capricorn, but that isn't going to last because Capricorn that night slips. It doesn't slip into Aquarius quite yet, but it does slip into a Uranic phase. So election day, then the day after, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th is under Uranic energy, a week-long phase of it. And this is where shocking news can happen. Someone you least expected could get in the White House. This could be a whole new family. I mean, according to Nostradamus, the great seer, he is predicted a whole new family. Now, one thing I know about Nostradamus is that he did not give too many dates. In fact, a lot of his quatrains had no dates at all, except for a few here and there. But one of his 2024 predictions was a new family. So, do I see Trump as a new family? No, not really. Kennedy, possibly. Now, remember, we have 3 candidates. We have Donald Trump, we have Joe Biden, and we have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Is it Jr. or what is it? Robert F. Kennedy. However, there are 2 others. There's Jill Stein and there is Cornel West. Now, I didn't do the stars of any of them because I don't think they'll get in. But if there was ever a year for a third-party candidate to get in, it would be this year because people are sick of it. So let's get right to it, okay? Let me fix this just a little. All right. So all 3 candidates, we have Joe Biden at 82. We've got Donald Trump at 78, and we have Robert Kennedy at 70. All 3 are Zionists. Let me just throw that out there right now. I'll just say what I'm going to say. Let's start with Donald, because I'm very fully aware of his stars. So this is, let me get a pen so I could point, and I'm going to hold this as still as possible. And please ignore all my messy handwriting. Like I said, I've done this 8 times, and so these charts have been through the ringer. Okay. So Donald Trump was born on June 14th, I believe that's 1946. Yes, 1946. I have 10:45 a.m. in Queens, New York. Now, he is the only candidate I got Biden's too. No, I don't. I don't have Biden's or Kennedy's birth time, but I've got Trump's. Now, in my method of astrology, the only thing that changes when you don't have the birth time and it's not accurate is going to be the ascending and the midheaven. and I don't really need to worry about those right now. Those are not my issue. But with Donald Trump here, everything is accurate. His ascending is in, let's see, Leo. He does have a stellium in the second house, but before we get to that, let's talk about his first house. Donald Trump is a Gemini, and he also has a dragon's head in Gemini sitting right on his first house. His tail is in the seventh, and he has a moon sitting there. That is never good. Okay, that is never good. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Donald Trump also has, so he has the sun and he has Uranus. Now, because when you have Uranus in the first house and he has this dragon's head in the first house, that's why he speaks like unhinged and said, I mean, some of the things he said, not that Joe Biden's any more acute and easy to listen to in his speech, but some of the things I've heard Donald say in the last few days is like, sorry, I laugh. I laugh at all politicians. But he has a dragon's head in Gemini, which makes him a double Gemini. Now, Jupiter's moved into Gemini as of May 25th, 2025. So it's stationing now right on. Even though he's not born natally with that Jupiter, it is stationed right on his first house now. So there's a Jupiter that's moved into Gemini. Wherever you have Gemini placed by house and sign, that is where you'll have a touch of luck this year. Okay. So, for example, Donald Trump, I could tell Gemini went into effect and is helping him a little bit. Not much, but a little bit, because I guess that trial in Georgia, Fannie Willis, I don't remember her name. They have postponed that trial indefinitely. So that's Jupiter working in the Donald's favor right now. All right, moving on. I want to add one more thing. All souls that are born with a dragon's head or tail, a sun, a moon, a rising, a north or south node, which is the dragon's head and tail, those souls experience things in 2s, 4s, and 6s. 2 marriages, 4 kids, 10 houses, 10 pieces of property, 8 cars. Donald Trump's an example of this. He has multiple real estate properties. He's had multiple wives. I think he has 4 or 5 kids. Things happen to him 2, 4s, and 6s. So the even numbers work in his favor because of all the Gemini energy that he has. Moving on to his second house. Second house. He has a stellium in Cancer, and it's in the second house. All the signs are in Cancer. So he has a Venus in Cancer, he has a Saturn in Cancer, and he has a Mercury in Cancer. Now, when it comes to real estate, this man knows his business. Okay, but Venus in the second house in Cancer is going to represent an individual who likes very extravagant things, such as a gold toilet, or, all these Fabergé eggs, or, extravagant homes. That's what his homes are, Mar-a-Lago. Having the Mercury sitting on the second house of wealth and possessions, he is destined by his stars to be rich in some ways through real estate. He has the stars to be in real estate, not so much politics. Mercury sitting on the second gives him the gift of gab when it comes to making transactions and real estate deals and business deals and things like that. Now, I'm going to circle this so you can see it, and I'm going to circle it in hot pink. This is a teachable moment for everybody. All right, second house, I just circled the Saturn. sitting in his second. I'm trying to hold this as straight as possible. Anytime you have a Saturn sitting in the second house, I don't care what sign you are. I don't care, where your placements are. If Saturn is sitting in the second house, Saturn in its positive is about discipline and structure, but in its negative, it's about deceit and tearing everything down and building it up better only to suit yourself. Now, people with a Saturn in the second house are called misers. They don't expect to pay taxes, but they expect all of you to pay taxes. They look down on the little guy, the litter guy. They look down on the smaller guy. And I have heard him say terrible things about the military. So, coming from a family that is military, Saturn in the second, they're bad tippers. They don't pay their workers. They do very malicious things. But remember, Saturn is a karmic planet. And if you go through life doing that to people, in the end, your money gets frozen. And that's kind of what you see happening for the Donald right now, is his money is being frozen and freezing by all these court things. However, this whole New York case where he got 34 counts on him, his popularity has gone up because of this. So there is also that, and that is Jupiter working its magic, so to speak. Now, Donald Trump is also born with a hidden dragon in Aries, and the tail is in Libra. Now, what universal dragon are we in right now? We are in an Aries and a Libra tail. So this sits on Donald Trump's 11th house. The dragon head is in the 11th house, and the tail sits on his 5th house. Where the hell is that? 5th house. Right there. 5th house of love, romance, children, and creativity. He also has a Neptune and a Jupiter there. This kind of makes him lucky in love, in a lot of ways. It whether that was Melania or another woman out there, maybe he'll get married again. I don't know. But anytime you have the universal dragon's tail in Libra, normally this is balance and harmony, but when it's in its tail, it is the complete opposite. And Libra also rules courts, laws, and justice. So there's that as well. And let's talk about his lucky days. So on election day, which is November 5th, Donald Trump's, the whole month of November, these are Donald Trump's lucky days. His lucky days: November 12th, 13th, 14th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. His unlucky days are the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th of November. So he goes into election night on an unlucky Dragon's Day. Now, I do not think the election will be called that night, and it's not in Mercury. We're not in Mercury retrograde during election night. That's one thing I can tell you from looking at the chart I have up. See if there's anything in retrograde that night. Hold on, kids. Bear with me. I think Jupiter might be in retrograde that night. I will double check it before I go on. So give me a second. Hold on. Yes, Jupiter will be in retrograde during the election. I'm looking for my other ephemeris book, but it's not in front of me directly. Oh, maybe it is. Yes, it is. I'm an idiot. All right, hold on. Let me double check something before I open my mouth. Yep, Jupiter's in retrograde from October 9th, 2024 until February 4th, 2025. So just because Donald has the Jupiter sitting on his first house when it's in retrograde, takes a little bit of that luck away and it makes you face um, other issues, so to speak. So yeah, on election night, he's going into a negative dragon day. It's coming to an end. It'll be at its end, but it is what it is. Like I said, I don't think the election's going to get called that night. It might take a couple of days after the election, but I'll be honest with you, Biden's stars for winning are even worse. So I think they already know who's going to win and the forces that be. I think both of these men are unfit to serve office, in my opinion. They're too old, and that's not being ageism. 87 and 82 is just a little too old, in my opinion. Trump puts on a good front, but behind the scenes, that man is kind of a mess. And I could see that in his stars. He talks a good talk. He has diarrhea of the mouth. Some of the things aren't making sense. This is a man who's been addicted to speed, meth, Adderall throughout the years. Both of them wear diapers. Both of them have incontinence. And the American people are a little disenchanted. I can see that. Now, I'm only going to spend too much time on Donald anymore, but I am going to finish this up with explaining to you that with his dragon's tail sitting in the 7th house of marriage, partnerships, and contracts, this is a terrible placement. 7th house, marriage, partnerships, contracts. This is a terrible placement for a politician or a husband. Okay. It's good for a dictator. In fact, Adolf Hitler himself had a dragon's tail in Capricorn with a moon sitting on Capricorn. So it made him the dictator that it is when not all, but there are people, it depends on by house and sign, but when you have a moon sitting on your tail, it can create some issues for people. I just want to double check. I wrote notes on Donald Trump in my little book here while I was writing up over a month ago. I've done this over a month ago, and it's taken me this long to finish. I covered that. So anytime you have a tail in the 7th, it also deals with shady with business and partnerships, hence why he went to court with this whole hush money thing. Not a very good husband. I guarantee you her time is near where she's just going to say goodbye. She doesn't want to be first lady again, but she'll probably do it for the money. Now, one more couple of things else I want to finish here. Pluto moves back into Capricorn on September 1st, 2024. It stays there for an 11-week tour, leaves on 11/13/2024, and moves back into Aquarius. Now, two things can happen in this scenario. Capricorn finishes cleaning house, because that's what Pluto in Capricorn does. It's cleaning house. It's putting, it's death, it's rebirth, and it's transformation. Okay, and it's sitting in Donald's 8th house. The 9th house, it jumps back November 14th into his 9th house of higher learning, law, like court justice laws, travel, foreign travel, and things like that. But when Capricorn jumps back into Pluto for those 11 weeks, these are the last 11 weeks we will ever deal with this placement in our lifetime, ever again. Okay. Pluto in Aquarius is more of the Renaissance period. I do have a small smidgen of hope. It's small, but I still have it. Okay. So when Pluto moves back into his 8th house, the 8th house is life, death, rebirth, transformation. There could be issues for him in these areas. Like I said, it's either going to clean house or it's going to freeze him completely. You know, this is in his house, death house. Pluto is in the death house. So that's not good. And to end it with, I'm just going to say this. Saturn is in Pisces, which is in his 10th house of career. The 10th house is the house of career, public standing, achievements, goals, success, things like that. And it's in the 10th, right? Yes. This is where it's going to do one of two things for him. Saturn is in its domicile house, so to speak, because Capricorn rules the 10th and Saturn rules Capricorn. But Saturn's in Pisces, and Pisces is his 10th house. And this is either going to push him up into achievement if he has good karma, which he doesn't, or it's going to freeze his career. So there's that possibility, okay? Now, some of you will get butthurt and bent out of shape with me about this, but I'm only seeing what I see through the stars. If the election night is called that night, he loses. If the election night, it takes them a while to count the votes and say the votes don't come in till about the 12th, 13th, 14th, he might win. There's that possibility. It all depends on the timing here, okay? Okay, moving on. Oh, one more thing I want to add. Next year, 2025, January 12th, 2025, the universal dragon moves into a Pisces Virgo tail. This will be sitting right on Donald Trump's 10th house, and the tail is on his 4th. Now, with that dragon moving, it elevates his career. But remember, Pisces lives in a fantasy world sometimes, and it's very watery and Neptunian, and delusions and illusions can happen where he may think he's the president, but he's not. Things like that. Okay. This could also represent his career freezing, but I'd be more worried about the tail being in his 4th house in Virgo, because the 4th house in Virgo deals with issues with home, family, real estate. So do I think next year he'll lose more property? You bet. Yes, I do. And his general security is going to be shattered. So I'm 75% sure he's not going to get elected, but you never know. And I'm going to say this because Geminis get things happening to them in 2s, 4s, and 6s. So this is his 3rd time around. An odd number doesn't work in his favor like an even one does. So there's that. But he also has Gemini and Jupiter helping him. But Jupiter's in retrograde during the election. So the energy goes backwards, and he's going to have to focus and regroup on how to use that Gemini Jupiter energy in a better way, which he doesn't know. So there's that. Moving on to Joe Biden. I've spent way too much on Donald Trump. I wasn't even going to spend 10 minutes on each one. Joe Biden. Now, Joe Biden is born on November 20th, 1942. I do not have a birth time, but I put Pennsylvania, Scranton, Pennsylvania. And he has a stellium in Scorpio. He's a true Scorpio, where my finger is. He's got a sun, a Mercury, a Venus, and a Mars. Now, Mars in Scorpio can be very dangerous, okay? Mars is fire and action. Scorpio is more of, it's the you're either the scorpion or the lizard of the zodiac. And this is on his 1st house. So don't how do I say this? Don't count out Sleepy Joe. I know there's people working in his corner, but uh, even though he's kind of out of it, there is a fire in him still. Maybe a grumpy old man fire, but it's still a fire. And I really do think these election debates that are coming up is just going to be like Grumpy Old Men Part 3. In fact, going back to Trump, July 11th, when he is sentenced, he's operating on another unlucky Dragon Day, but it's right on a cusp. So depending on what time the sentencing happens, he might get lucky. But nevertheless, the 11th is not a good day for Donald Trump. Moving on to Biden. So Joe Biden has a dragon's head in Virgo and the tail is in Pisces. And it sits right on his 5th house of love, romance, children, and creativity. Hence why Joe Biden's first daughter died in a car accident. Hence why he lost his son, Beau Biden. Now, I'm not saying all people with a dragon's tail in the 5th is going to mean death of their children. That's not what I'm saying. However, I do see this placement in a lot of women who miscarry as well or have difficulty getting pregnant. There's other factors that go into it as well. Hold on, I'm looking at where my notes are. So sometimes when the dragon tail sits in the 5th, especially when it's in a sign like Pisces in its negative is illusions, delusions, alcohol, drug abuse, institutions, jails, hospitals, even convents and churches in some ways. So he has seen tragedy. Now, say what you want about Joe Biden. I make fun of him too, but he has a hidden dragon's head sitting in, hold on here. Hidden dragon's head sitting in the 4th house of Aquarius, and the tail is in Leo sitting on his 10th house of career. So this can mean drama with career or even endings. But what you can't say about him looking at his stars is that he's not a good father, because he is. He's an excellent father with a hidden dragon sitting in the 4th of home and family. He cares deeply about his children. Now, he does have his ascendants in a critical degree because he has a deep codification of thought, and it's in Capricorn. So a lot of Capricorns sway either one way or the other. You know, 3rd house is mental clarity. He becomes a Capricorn. So Capricorns steer either two ways. It's what the good book says and nothing but the good book, or it's all science and atheism. Atheists. It's not, there's never common ground. It's one or the other extreme. And with him, it's all about the codification of thought and what the good book says and nothing but the good book. Okay. Now, he has the universal dragon right now, which is in an Aries Libra tail, cruising his 6th and 12th house, with the head being in the 6th. Now, just because the head is in the 6th does not mean he could not suffer health problems. King Charles is a Scorpio. He has his universal dragon cruising through his 6th, and he's having health problems. So, let's see. Saturn also moves into Aries right on Joe Biden's 6th house on May 24th, 2025. And Saturn in the 6th isn't good because it can represent disease and death in some ways. And that's not a good placement to have, especially at his age. If he was a younger man, I wouldn't worry as much, but that's not a good placement for him at all. And you could see the notes I wrote on that, just so you know. He has a moon in the 7th, so he takes his marriage and his relationships very, very seriously. Now, 8th house, he has a Uranus and a Saturn sitting in, I believe that's Gemini. November, December, January, February, March. Yes, Gemini. And hence, when you have Saturn in Gemini, you always have an individual who will either be incredibly shy with speaking or will have a speech impediment. Hence why he has a speech impediment. It's not that he's stupid or he's Sleepy Joe or anything like that. He has a speech impediment. I know many people, and I've worked with many special needs children that have had really severe speech impediments and have overcome them. Okay. And sometimes those impediments stay within you even until adult years, but you improve through therapy and whatnot. And so, no, he's not stupid. Uh, Mercury in Scorpio is not stupid. A Mercury in Scorpio is cunning and conniving. He's a kind of a tough old goat, but I don't think he's going to last. I've said this before. Those who've followed me for years, I said many years ago, you might want to get used to the name President Harris. I think our first woman president will be by default of death or assassination. So, but when you have this Saturn sitting in the 8th house, it can create a lack of mental clarity as well. So there's always that possibility. He's also got Jupiter stationed there, just like Trump has it in the 1st. Biden has it in the 8th. So this will bring him a touch of luck with death, drama, things like that. I want to check my notes on him real quick. All right, so now we're going to go to Pluto in Capricorn. Now, Pluto's in Aquarius right now, and this is actually gracing Biden's, let's see, 7th house? No, 8th? No, November, December, January, February, March. 4th house. So Pluto in Aquarius is in his 4th house right now, and it's going to move into his 3rd house starting on the 1st of September. This is going to create, how do I explain this? An issue with mental clarity, making poor decisions. Like I said, we really have two very bad candidates here. You know, one wants to be a dictator and one gives all of our money to Ukraine and Israel while the American people can't put food on their table. I have an issue with that. Okay, I have an issue with that. Like I said, all three of these candidates are Zionists, so they're really not in the greater good for the American people. It's more about how much AIPAC lines their pockets. And if you don't like what I said, deal with it. It's just what I see in the stars. So he has this hidden tail sitting in the 10th house. This could be endings with his career. Now remember, next year the tail moves into a Pisces Virgo. And even though he's born with a Virgo Pisces, everything reverses. So that's his natal dragon, not his hidden. So the head will be sitting on his 5th, which will bring great pleasure towards family and children. But the tail sits on his 11th house of wishes and friends. So maybe running for a second term and saying you wouldn't be a second term president and then going back on your promise might bite you in the ass. I'm just saying. When you have a tail sitting in the 11th house like that, it also makes you make poor decisions and things like that. It just makes you make poor decisions, especially with the Libra universal dragon's tail sitting in the 12th house. It just makes him make some very bad decisions. His lucky and unlucky dragon days are even worse. There's no lucky dragon days on election day. His unlucky days are November 9th, 10th, 11th, and the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st. His lucky days are November 7th and 8th. So if they call that election on the 7th or the 8th, he could get in. On the 9th, half of it, he's operating on good days part of the morning, and then in the afternoon, not so great. November 22nd, 23rd, and 24th are another couple of his lucky days. But neither Trump nor Biden have this in the bag as of yet. And let's not forget, I've worked enough political radio to know that there's always an October surprise, okay, of some sort. There's always an October surprise. And between these two candidates, before I get to Kennedy, Trump's worst months are always going to be October and November. And for Biden, Biden's worst months are always going to be August and September, back to back, August and September. So take that with a grain of salt. I want to see what happens in October. But even the great seer himself, Nostradamus, said there'll be a whole new family in office from 2025. So, and that could also mean that Biden gets elected, doesn't make it to the inauguration, and they inaugurate Kamala. I will go look at Kamala Harris's stars and see what is brewing there, and see if I see any like shred of hope of her becoming president. Okay, moving on to Robert F. Kennedy. Now, I'm not praising this person in any sense of the way. I think he's on a level of crazy, kind of up there with Alex Jones. But Kennedy is born January 17th, 1954. I do not know where he was born, but he is a Capricorn with a stellium in Capricorn and a dragon's head in Capricorn. You want your politicians to have a good dragon's head, and a dragon's head in Capricorn makes for an excellent politician. A stellium in Capricorn with a sun, a Venus, and a Mercury is an excellent placement for politics and a politician, okay? He is also operating on a Jupiter return. He is natally born. Trump is not natally born with a Jupiter in Gemini. He is natally born with a Jupiter in Libra. Okay, so this is why, he can get away with a lot of things. Jupiter in Libra will always help him with courts and laws, but what won't protect him is karma. If you keep repeating and repeating and repeating in time, it does bite you in the ass. And Biden doesn't have a Jupiter there either. His Jupiter is in, what did I say? Aquarius? Cancer, right? No. Cancer. Jupiter in Cancer. But Robert F. Kennedy's on a Jupiter return. He is operating on the luckiest of luckies. When you're on a Jupiter return, you're golden. So, and the Jupiter happens to fall right in his 6th house of health and service to the world. So if he's having health issues, they should improve. His service to the world will improve. He gets a lucky break in some ways. It does go retrograde before election, but when you have a Jupiter return, even a retrograde can't stop the luck. And wherever that Jupiter falls by house and sign gives you a touch of luck. But when it's on a return, it's a double dose. Now, he has his dragon's tail sitting in the 7th house, and move my fingers. He also has a moon there, and I did say it's not a good placement for a politician, but Trump's was in a fire sign. His is in a water sign. So this makes him a very kind, compassionate individual, cares about animals and children. Um, but he could make bad decisions solely on his emotions and take it to a very emotional level. That's the only thing I worry about with him. Um, I know he's an anti-vaxxer and things like that. I know, what did he say? He had bugs in his head. This is why I say he's kind of on the same level as Alex Jones, but I've seen Alex Jones's chart and his stars, and Alex Jones is a putz. This guy may be on the same mentality, but this man has a bigger heart. He cares deeply, and I could see that in his stars. Um, like I said, Dragon Tail sitting there with the moon in Cancer, that worries me a little bit. Now he does have a dragon, hidden dragon in Aries, and a tail in Libra, just like Trump's hidden dragon. So this makes his hidden tail sit in the 10th and the dragon's head sit in the 4th. That's his hidden. We're also in that universal energy too. So with the tail sitting in his career, that might affect him. If he gets in, it'll be through karmic reasons more than anything else. Okay. Now, he does have a Mars and a Saturn in the 11th house. When you have Mars in the 11th house, your friends are karmically your past life enemies in some ways. With Saturn sitting there, it does tone down the fire energy of Mars, and it may bring older, wiser people into your life with that energy. But here's the kicker, okay? Now, in the realm of politics, hold on. All right, in the realm of politics, I'm trying to figure out what was my thought on this. In the realm of politics, and his lucky and unlucky dragon days, here's the kicker here. His lucky days are November 5th, 6th, and 7th. He's operating on a lucky dragon's day, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th. The next lucky days are the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th. His unlucky days are the 18th, the 19th, the 20th, and the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th. Now, his lucky days fall right on election day, the day after, and the day after that. Okay. Do I think he'll win the election? No. It would take a miracle, but never say never. I've seen it all. So, in order for him to get on that podium and debate with the other two, he's at 12% right now, and he needs to get up to 15 in order to debate with them. So if those of you who are Robert Kennedy fans, you need to get this man to 15% so that he can debate with the other two grumpy old men. Okay? And that is your presidential election 2024. Right now, it's a crapshoot. But even the great seer himself said a whole new family was coming in. Now, I'm not sure how that's going to happen. That can either be by assassination or death. That could be the whole country decides, screw this shit, I'm voting third party. There are two other third party candidates, Jill Stein and Cornel West. And I didn't do their stars because they're not really as popular. I don't think they have a shot of getting in. But Robert F. Kennedy, if he could get his numbers up, he might have a shot. And a lot can change. We're gonna do a part 2 around October 15th or so, and I'll do another one here, and we'll talk about it some more. But like I said, even the great seer himself said a whole new family is coming in. Now I don't know how. I mean, hell, that could be Donald Trump getting elected, and whoever he picks for his VP goes in. Whole new family. There's so many possibilities to those terms that, you know, Nostradamus, remember when he wrote in clouded obscurities so that the church wouldn't understand what he was writing. Contrary to what people think, he didn't write about the rapture. He didn't write about any of that shit. The Christians took that over. There's no such thing as a rapture. That's a invention in 1812. But a lot of Nostradamus's predictions were not dated. So you kind of, he put in a lot of, some of the things I'm able to decipher, but not all of them. And I'm still actually learning how his mind worked, so to speak. But Nostradamus has been known to be wrong too. And also, if the country that we live in is so messed up as it is, do you really think there's going to be a fair election? And I'm not talking about the whole Donald Trump thing. He lost fair and square in 2020. And there's, you know, you can't say this and that. It went through so many courts and laws and justices that he lost, and he just till this day can't accept it. We'll have to wait and see. Like I said, I'm waiting till October. I thought about waiting to do this video until October, but I'm just kind of giving you a perspective. If that election's called that night, and if we can get Robert Kennedy to 15%, he could actually win the election. But I don't see any exposure on him, and that's done by design. Please remember, Democrat, Republican, two-headed, one, they're both entwined, one-party system. Gabish? I don't trust any politicians. You know what never lies? The stars. That's what I trust. And I would go with what Nostradamus says as well. So only time will tell. And I wasn't going to do it this long, but I'm glad I had the time to sit. I hope this recording comes out very well, because the last three were crap. So to all of you out there, I'm wishing you a happy Wednesday, happy hump day, almost the weekend. And I will try and get back on here again, trying to do a video a week. And it gets a little hard between work and doing readings and whatnot. But we're probably going to get on here Monday or Tuesday. On that note, though, I do want to wish all of the men and those women that wear both hats a very happy Father's Day this Sunday. Have a great weekend. Be safe out there, and I'll see you soon. Ciao.